Guided by 25 years of experience, commitment, and insight, having weathered crises big and small, knowing the resilience of our partners, and understanding the undeniable human need of travel, we have set a simple goal: accelerate the rebuilding of our industry. At heart, we are people who are passionate about travel and passionate about the partnerships that make travel possible for everyone. We are looking to the future, where the work of our people can be part of your recovery, where together we start to reimagine growth, where we work to reconnect customers who want to find new ways back to travel and exploration. We will adapt and support each other in partnership we care about as much as we care about growing your business. A partnership we earn. A partnership based on trust. A partnership we reimagine together. That is our commitment. Because the world will wake up and a new day will dawn. And just over that bright horizon live people we miss, places we've yet to explore. In the not so distant future, when the conditions are right and our communities are safe, travelers everywhere will once again look to us all to open those closed doors, lift windows into new vistas, and find them new friends while bringing them close to old ones. The world will travel again. And we'll be ready.
Welcome back to our Day 2 studio show. And wasn't that a lovely video with all those lovely places that you can visit? And actually, I realized that I'm kind of a spoiled person because a lot of those places I saw myself. What about you, Eamon?
Isn't it funny how you can see a small glimpse of a city and all of those memories kind of come flooding back?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the theme of Click is let's go, and that definitely makes me want to let's go.
Well, first of all, a very happy St. Patrick's Day to all of you out there. And Eamon, what were your favorite moments from yesterday? What were your takeaways?
I think there were a lot of moments. I go back to seeing that video that we just replayed as kind of the starting point for me.
Yeah.
And, you know, if I think about that video, what is really in it is people. Whether we mention it, whether you see it, it's definitely that. And then I look to the studio show as we started out yesterday together, and you look at David and the download of the data that he had, and there's a lot of data in there. But let's be honest, it's really about the people. And then as we move through to the panel, Arjan and Marianne really talking through sustainability, and of course that continued on with our on-demand sessions where we saw the Hotel Jakarta, and that's a real example of people taking decision in their business and I think having a really positive impact. And then, of course, we had more deep dives with our on-demands yesterday. We had the Daniel Marovitz payments. I know there were a lot of partners who wanted to tune in and hear our plans there. And I know many of you will be saying, I missed some of that and I want to catch up. Well, you don't need to worry because on-demand is very much still available. And we still want to hear from you as well using that hashtag Click2021. Please share with us the content that's resonating with you today. We can't wait to see what you have there because today is a big day. I mean a big day. It's a big day for content and conversations, and there is a lot of sessions that we have planned to be released. And I'm going to tell you more about that later in this morning's studio show, Marit.
Okay. Well, I personally am very excited about our first conversation as we welcome back our Booking.com CMO, Arjan Dijk, who sat down with Global Director of Behavioral Economics from Google, Dr. Maya Shankar.
Hello, I'm Arjan Dijk, the Chief Marketing Officer at Booking.com. And today I'm joined by the world-leading behavioral scientist, Dr. Maya Shankar, who will help us examine what we need to do to get consumers worldwide back to travel again. Maya, so great to see you.
It's great to see you, Arjan. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, and if you're okay, I quickly will introduce you to our audience. Maya used to be advisor in the Obama administration Office of Science and Technology Policy and founded the White House Social and Behavioral Sciences team in 2015. She served as an advisor to the United Nations on behavioral insights and is currently at Google, where I was lucky enough to work with her before joining Booking.com. Please welcome Global Director Behavioral Economics for Google, Dr. Maya Shankar.
Hi, everybody.
Great. Well, Maya, let's get into it immediately. So, as Director of Behavioral Economics for Google and with your impressive academic background in behavioral science, I'd like you to help us understand the task ahead of us. And I completely understand that you cannot look into the future, but the million-dollar question on everyone's mind in the industry is, of course, how international travel will change and what will consumers do differently coming out of this crisis in terms of their travel behavior. What are your thoughts using your kind of background and insights?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, as you mentioned, I cannot read into the future, but behavioral science does teach us some pretty valuable lessons that I think are worth sharing. The reality is that over the past year plus, we have had to rewire our brains in order to avoid certain things that were very much a part of our normal life and to develop very specific habits. And what we know from behavioral science research is that once we form habits, they can be very sticky, such that even when the risks disappear and there's no reason for us to even use those habits anymore, they stick around and they end up distorting our behaviors. So in the case of the pandemic, even when we have vaccinated a large part of the world, I imagine that people will hold on to some of these habits. There will be lingering effects. For example, one thing that the entire world was made much more acutely aware of over the past year are the risks of contracting viruses, the spreading of germs, just broadly speaking, and the risks of being in dense, highly populated places. These were things for most people that we just didn't really think that much about. Didn't concern us. So given this, I think it's very important that as we reimagine and we redesign what the travel experience ought to look like in the coming year, we consider these potential behavioral factors. So features of travel that used to not matter to us at all may now matter a heck of a lot more in the wake of COVID. So high cleanliness standards, social distancing, et cetera. And I think we should also expect that there are going to be residual trends given how people creatively chose to cope with coronavirus over the past year. So there is data showing, for example, that people may continue to prefer traveling by car versus flight, that they may opt for more regional travel versus international travel.
Or maybe even trains. Let's see what happens.
Absolutely. I think the final thing I'd want to say on this point is that, and I think this is very reassuring for the travel industry, is that another very deep part of human nature that I think will undoubtedly persist into the future is a very strong desire to connect with others and learn about other places. So just a small anecdote, my coworker, his niece recently asked her parents if she could go to Japan after learning about Japan in school. And so what they did is they organized this really creative day trip, complete with making sushi at home, simulating a bullet train ride in a neighborhood park. And now his entire extended family does a monthly international food Zoom call in which they try to make a meal from another part of the world, another cuisine. And I think we saw in general that people were extremely innovative when it came to finding very creative ways of connecting with others during the crisis. So people would make homemade face masks and send them to parts of the world where COVID was spiking as a way of just reaching out across countries and different barriers. So again, these stories remind me that a very fundamental part of being human is the desire to meet and connect with new people, is to feed our curiosity about other cultures and to explore new places. And at the end of the day, that makes me very hopeful about the future of
Thanks,
travel.
Maya. And I've been talking a lot in the past days around sustainability and the environment. And we really talked about our company beliefs. And one of the key beliefs we have is really to make sustainable travel easier. And sustainability in travel is tricky, as obviously everyone will say, yeah, I want to travel sustainably, but can you really do it? And so also a question to you, what do you think that we as Booking.com and also our partners can do to make it easier for travelers to book and travel more sustainably?
Yeah, well, you're absolutely right, Aryan, because our intentions don't always map onto what we actually want to do. In behavioral science, we call this the intention action gap. So when we think about choice architecture, right, you're very familiar with these concepts, the way that we design a choice making environment, we need to design experiences in ways that help minimize some of the frictions that can exist and help people more easily act on their intentions. So specifically in the sustainability space, I think one big behavioral challenge that we all face is that it's really hard to understand how much impact any given individual action will have on the environment. And it's also really easy to feel like it's quite small and probably not worth it. Now, on the other hand, these other factors that go into our decision making, like price, time of travel, how many layovers, these are really well quantified and are made very salient during the booking process. So when it comes down to making this decision, naturally, because we're all human, we end up defaulting to using signals like price, travel time, et cetera, more than we might want to, right? It's not that we don't care about sustainability, it's just that we don't know how to weigh our options. So a couple ideas I had when it comes to Booking.com and your partners and the types of things you can consider are the following. Number one, I think it's really important that we create metrics that are very intuitive and also emotionally resonant and can be easily compared to other factors that travelers consider when they are booking so that they can actually make mental trade-offs in their minds and decide what matters most to them. So for example, a user might say, okay, this flight does cost me $50 more and it does include an extra layover, but I know that I'm going to save 10 redwood trees in the process, right? I know what the environmental impact might be, and so this is worthwhile for me. You can also use sustainability information as a tiebreaker. So for example, if a customer is considering two different hotels that are similar in price, quality, amenities, what have you, Booking.com could allow users to see which hotel is more environmentally sustainable. Because for example, they have solar panels or updated insulation. And I think this can create a really healthy competition among hotels, right? Like they have star ratings for cleanliness and ease of registration and whatnot. But if you were to add to that an environmental component, then you're going to have a really positive race to the top when it comes to being environmentally sustainable.
Great.
And then finally, I think you can tie the decision to make sustainable travel linked to a different kind of incentive system. So I think the travel industry is really unique in that it has a very established points and status incentive system, right? And people respond really strongly to them. Like I know people who will travel to a random place and back just to preserve their gold status, right? I just need the miles, otherwise I'm going to lose my premier status. So we know people are very really like emotionally attached to this dimension. And so if we can help travelers accrue points for sustainable behaviors, that could be a really interesting idea, right? If you decide to book with this thing, we're actually going to give you extra gold points or what have you. And I think the most compelling, I mean, Ari and you and I talked about this all the time when we got to work together, the incentive doesn't always have to be a financial one. In fact, we find in some settings that financial incentives can actually be weaker than other behavioral incentives. So the company Opower, which is an environmentally friendly energy company, tested different mechanisms for trying to get people to use less energy. And they found that financial incentives were not nearly as effective as just telling people that their neighbors use less energy than they did in the previous month. And so I think Booking.com can play around with really creative ways to leverage these social insights and make it more desirable for people to choose more sustainable options.
Great. Now, lots to think about, and we talked about it a lot with our partners and the industry because clearly a key topic. I mentioned company beliefs. Another one that we really believe in is privacy and security as a cornerstone of our business. And that is really about making sure our guests and partners trust us here. And you and I talked before about lifting the veil and its positive effects on building trust. And can you maybe give your thoughts to the audience here?
Yeah, well, first of all, I mean, I'm delighted to hear how much of a priority this is, right? I mean, the first step is leadership, like you saying, we are really committed to privacy and security. One of the ways that behavioral science says we can build trust is by showing your work. So the fancy term is operational transparency. And the basic concept is when you pull the curtain back, you allow users a behind the scenes look at what's going on behind the scenes, they're much more likely to trust the process. Travel sites were one of the first in across many industries to actually apply this idea. So when you're going onto a website like Booking.com and you're typing in your desired flight or hotel options, rather than just waiting for the results to load, right? You're given prompts that tell you what's happening behind the scenes. So Booking.com says searching the skies, right? Other places might say, okay, now we're looking at United and Aer Lingus and KLM, and we're comparing them all to make sure that we're giving you the best deal. And this type of operational transparency has proved to be very beneficial. The research is showing more and more that people tend to prefer and trust results that come from systems where the company showed their work, even compared to results that showed up with no wait time at all. So they prefer the longer experience, the more friction-filled experience, as long as they're told what's happening behind the scenes and that what's happening behind the scenes is in their best interest. So I ordered pizza online, I'll admit it, especially during quarantine, okay? And Domino's in the US does this very well. I'm frustrated. I'm like, all I asked for was a medium cheese pizza, right? Like, why is this taking so damn long? But then I go onto their website, they tell me that Molly has just put my pizza into the oven, it's in the baking process, now it's in the checking process, and that's all very reassuring. So even though it takes exactly the same amount of time, we still trust it more. Now, specifically, you mentioned, how does this relate to privacy and security, right? And I think it's important to mention two things about that. I think it's insufficient for companies to simply work on the technical infrastructure to make sure that data is kept private and secure, because all of this work is going on behind the scenes, which means users may not be aware of all the work that you're actually investing in privacy and security. And as a result, when there is eventually some small hiccup, as all companies have at some point, users will have an outsized negative response to it, right? It could erode trust very quickly. I also think it's insufficient to tell users that you care a ton about privacy and security in an email or an ad without backing it up with sustained action, because all companies are going on the road with this message right now, and it's starting to lose meaning. So actions really speak louder than words. So my recommendation is to find specific moments in context, right, within the product experience, where you can lift the veil, as you said, and demonstrate to users how Booking.com is prioritizing privacy and security. So maybe that happens in the context of someone checking out, and there's a loading page, and it says something like, Booking.com is now saving your information securely. Or every year on the anniversary of someone creating an account, you give them a reminder to check their settings, because Booking.com is doing its regular privacy and security maintenance of that person's account. You want to make sure, with privacy and security, again, this is a conversation we've had many times, you need to be really careful that you bring up the prompts when it makes sense to, when it is context appropriate. Because sometimes bringing up privacy and security issues in the wrong context can actually backfire, right? It can lead to more concern rather than less, because now you're making people think about privacy concerns, but they're actually just immersed in a very benign part of the experience.
No, great. Now, very relevant to all of us and all our partners. So thanks for that. One thing I really would like to talk about is user agency, really an important principle of behavioral science. And we probably all can agree that we have been stripped somewhat, of our user agency in the last 12 months. And of course, this was for the right reasons and for the greater good. And of course, we had to conform to stricter rules. That said, can you help me unpack what you see as the key aspects of this for travelers and what the potential implications are for Booking.com, but also for our partners?
Yeah, you're exactly right. User agency, consumer agency, these things really matter to people. Again, the research says just how much we enjoy being in the driver's seat and just generally feeling that we're in control of our experience. So one of the most interesting research studies that came out over the last few years on this topic showed that when people were allowed to tweak an algorithm, so when they were allowed to contribute their personal inputs to the algorithm, they actually preferred to use that algorithm over other algorithms that they knew worked better, that they knew generated more reliable results. because those algorithms did not involve their inputs. So it shows like we do have this slight egocentric bias, right? Like we really prefer things that we know involved our inputs, even when we know the outcome might not be as faithful. So that's kind of an interesting, quirky feature of human behavior. And I think the way to apply this in the context of travel experiences is simply to remind people that while many aspects of their experience might be outside of their control, especially against the backdrop of a pandemic, there are many ways that they actually are in control of tailoring their travel experience to meet their needs and their preferences. So for example, something as simple as like the decision of what seat they want to sit in, how much distance they want to have from other people, choosing an electronic contactless check-in and check-out process, deciding what snacks they want in flight, right? Choosing hotels that have a lot of outdoor dining spaces, right? The types of choices that for us historically felt like, oh, of course we have these options, might be really important for us to make really clear and salient to people right now when they're feeling, vulnerable, they're desiring more control over their experiences. They want to feel like the thing they want to do most, namely to travel, they want to do as safely as possible and they want to enjoy it. And that has been something that, as you said, it has been eroded over the past year and a half. And so we need to make sure that, or I guess it's been, wow, it feels like even longer, but I guess it's technically only been about a year. A year, wow. But yeah, it is one of those things that our sense of agency and control has been eroded, right? Like our plans that we had, we just had to stop. They went awry. And that's something for all of us to consider.
Exactly. Time is flying and I'm already, I think, out of time. So to finish with my last question, and we discussed this a little bit before, but if you have to predict what the biggest shift in traveler behavior will be, what would you say this is and why?
I think it's going to be an increased desire for flexibility. I think the pandemic has left people feeling far more vulnerable than before and a lot more conservative because they've seen their plans, big and small in life, just go awry so many times, whether it was a big vacation they had planned or a wedding, right? Like lots of things had to be canceled last year. So I imagine we might see consumers wanting to wait longer until they book flights. They might want more options when it comes to refunds, changing the time and dates of their flights, what companions they're traveling with. I also think another thing we might see, and we certainly see this in the behavioral literature a lot, is people respond really strongly to novelty effects. And since travel will be new and fresh, we might see an initial surge. But I think it's just going to be a matter of time until we eventually return to our old equilibrium. But it's really an empirical question, right? We just have to see how long it takes to play out before we end up either going back to old ways or maybe we do see new trends, right? We'll just have to see. And then finally, I think when it comes to in-flight entertainment, I don't know about you, Arjan, but I spent a lot of this past year watching Netflix shows, sometimes on rerun. So it'll be interesting to see how they keep that fresh.
No, fascinating. I haven't
forward.
thought about that. So thank you. Well, thank you so much, Maya. So wonderful to see you and get your perspectives. And for everyone watching, hope you enjoyed this and got a glimpse on how the future of travel could look like. Thank you for watching.
Wow, I thought I was kind of a unique person with unique ideas about where to go and how I want to travel, but I guess not.
I really enjoyed that. And I was just sitting there listening to Maya and operational transparency, and I've got a bit of a confession to make. So take Uber.
Yeah.
The operational transparency of 6 minutes and your car will be there. Do you know what I do?
No?
I hit cancel.
No.
That's the first one. However, okay, to my defense, if it's Uber Eats,
Yeah.
I'm more than willing to wait an hour for that to come. Yeah, so I can do some other things, get ready, everything taken care of. But I think it's also fair to say that travel decisions are changing. Think health and safety, think flexibility. And I'm curious, coming back to travel for you, Marit, how do you think your travel decisions are changing in terms of researching, discovering?
Yeah, well, I think that safety and hygiene are more an issue than they were before because I have my child and I have my parents who are older. So I think I would be thinking of that stuff.
Well, we're seeing the industry responding, right? Over the last year, a lot more information is being uploaded every day around health and safety measures, how things are kind of working, and lots of decisions being taken in those industry businesses to make sure that that information is available. And we know decisions can make a huge impact, and right now those decisions are really important for the industry and how we might rebuild.
Yeah, and we would love it if you would tell us more about the decisions you're making on Click 2021, hashtag Click 2021 on your favorite social channels.
And we know many of our partners are also focused on topics like belonging, and we want to inspire that decision making. So we return to the stories of our diverse travel community, and we have another one for you today, another traveller story. So let's take a look.
When I plan to travel with a partner, the first thing I do is research, will I be safe? Is it legal for us to be there, and will I be welcome? I want to go off the beaten track when I travel and not visit exclusively LGBTQ+ accommodations. For my community, the place you stay is not just the first stop in your trip, but a safe space to be yourself. However, 1 in 3 LGBTQ+ travelers fear judgment from hotel staff. The check-in process can be especially uncomfortable. I can't tell you how many times I've been asked if me and my partner would prefer 2 separate beds. Companies or properties can make the smallest changes that display the biggest acts of inclusion. Things such as acknowledging and respecting people's pronouns, gender-inclusive bathrooms, and using inclusive language and imagery through your staff and marketing can have the biggest impact on guests. These actions show travelers this is a property they can feel safe in. Investing in diversity and inclusion training, especially for guest experience teams, is an investment the industry can make today. Training programs like Travel Proud offered by Booking.com are here to support you. This investment is not just for today, it is for the future of all travelers. More and more people not only identify as part of this community, but feel comfortable to be who they are as we all try and head towards a more inclusive state. Now 20% of millennials and 31% of the Gen Z generation identify as LGBTQ+, making this a higher statistic than ever before recorded. And everyone deserves to experience the world, no matter who they are or who they love. Be proud.
Yeah, what a great reminder of the importance of inclusivity. It's inspiring to see all these different posts from social media, from so many people and from day one. And I see so many wonderful places to visit and so many beautiful people who post things. So please keep posting.
Okay, Mary, you're talking about places, but I'm curious how the list is kind of growing in terms of your travel destination.
Oh, well, I think I didn't tell you, but I actually was a professional traveler.
Okay, what is a professional traveler?
Well, I had a TV show on the Dutch television for years, and it was about campsites. So for 4 years, I visited like every campsite in the whole of Europe. I don't think you can mention any country in Europe that I haven't been seeing.
Okay, so we've got the resident expert of Europe, but I'm curious now. You've been on lockdown and you're about to get back out there. So where are you going to go?
Well, I had a lot of time to think about that one, of course.
Of course.
But I must say, I do love the Mediterranean Sea. So I think I'll be in Italy somewhere, and then I'll be at the beach, on a chair, laying there with the sun, feeling lovely, reading a book, maybe.
I think it's really interesting how after the moment of lockdown, you know, we haven't been able to go anywhere or do a lot in this time, that the first thing we want to do is get out and relax, right? I think it's interesting.
Yeah, well, I have to defend myself now. Because when you have kids who had to do some homeschooling, you're very busy, and then you have to work, of course, as well, and your family is around you all the time. So you really want to get out and relax. I can tell you that.
Okay, I can understand that. Yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
And I mean, for me, getting out there, I think you probably think, is Australia on the list?
Yes, you must be willing to go to
I mean,
Australia.
it's still challenging, let's be really honest. The
Yeah.
borders are completely not open. And,
No,
and to be fair, let me say, I would go around the corner if it was a new travel experience. I can
Really?
tell you that for a while. But I think what it reminds me of when we talk about this is that partners will play a huge role in helping people get back to that sense of normality, I guess, whether that's relaxing or not. And, as an industry event, we are completely focused on partners and partnerships. And I know the word together has been talked about over, the days that we've had already. So we wanted to unpack that a little bit more, and I asked Ripsi Bandurian, she's our Vice President of Global Accommodations Partnerships, to host a conversation with our commercial leaders to get more details.
Welcome to the Innovating Booking.com partnership session. Now, before we get going, I want to pause and take a minute. It is a very unusual year that we find ourselves in, and we are sitting on sofas, but really, really far away. And this may be the first time I've seen these colleagues in the last year. But with that in mind, and with a bit of awkwardness of sitting this far away from each other, let's kick off. My name is Ripsi Bandurian, and at Booking, when we say partner, we mean it. We mean it when we talk about our accommodation partners, our connectivity partners, and our demand partnerships. Our relationship is a dialogue, a two-way or even a multi-way sharing of ideas and insights and ways to strengthen our relationships and connect the dots. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by three people who live and breathe this and are responsible for simulating and nurturing these partnerships at Booking.com. Carmen Hui, who leads our owner partnerships, and her particular focus on helping hoteliers accelerate their business and come through the recovery better. Mark van der Linde, who is a Senior Director of Partnerships at Booking.com, and he's focused on building demand partnerships. For example, with companies like airlines and mobile manufacturers and fintech companies. And we partner with them to help deliver extra value to their audiences. And Eddie Feldhausen, mispronounced probably, Director of Connectivity Partnerships at Booking.com. Eddie is all about building integration layers with supply technology providers like channel managers and property management systems that make it simpler for accommodation partners to do business with us. As you will see, we all take nurturing these partnerships with you very, very seriously. And as you have already heard from Glenn and Arjan yesterday, we've been making concrete actions to innovate and invest in the recovery of our industry for all of our partners. Now, one such action that I'd love us to talk about today is the Partner Performance Investment Program. Carmen, would you like to give us a little bit of an update about this program?
Sure, Ripsi. Our Partner Performance Investment Program was designed to help partners rebuild their businesses faster in the recovery. It was built on three principles of partnership. First one being serving key needs. As we know, our partners' needs changed dramatically as a result of the pandemic, and some became even more amplified. One that particularly stood out was the need to actually stand out in front of their competition. And our partners really turned to us when the demand and supply got thrown wildly out of balance. They turned to us to help them with increased visibility in front of customers. And we serve this key need in our Partner Performance Investment Program by leveraging a combination of our Genius and preferred partner solutions. Second core principle that we designed this program around was driving efficiency. Now, as we know, this became even more relevant during the pandemic.
Definitely. I mean, at a time like this, I imagine efficiency is the main thing that many of our partners care about.
Yeah, there were already so many new complexities thrown at our partners and their businesses that we wanted to keep our program as simple as possible to understand and easy to activate. of course, speed to market was everything. So helping our partners gain occupancy as fast as possible could, in some cases, mean the difference between breaking even or even staying open for business. Our third key principle that we designed this program around was delivering incrementality. As we know, profitability was top of mind for all our partners. And what we did in our program was actually deliver a commission benefit to participating partners, which translated into direct cost savings.
Yeah.
This all came together in what we called the Power Combo in 2020, which, as I mentioned before, leveraged the combination of our Genius and Preferred partner solutions. And based on the successful performance results, we are going to be looking at variations of this program for 2021.
And that's really exciting because we all know 2020 was incredibly difficult, but 2021 is now turning out to be incredibly easy either. So it's important to see the commercial investments in these programs.
Definitely.
Eddie, I'm going to switch over to you now. And what I'm sure many of our partners would love to hear more about is the Provider Innovation Fund. Could you share some details?
Absolutely. So the Provider Innovation Fund is part of our Connectivity Partner Program. And that partner program we have now for 3 years and consists of the entire ecosystem of channel managers and property management system which we are working with. And the program consists of 3 layers: Standard, Advanced and Premier. And this benefit, the Provider Innovation Fund, is actually specifically for these premier providers.
Mm-hmm.
So you may want to ask yourself the question, what are you going to do with it, right?
Yeah.
So everyone knows the extranet, right? So the extranet is rich in all types of features and functions we offer to kind of run your business with Booking. We've also thought about, can we do this simpler and easier for accommodations? And we know there is a wide variety of tools and technology out there which is being used by hotels and many other types of accommodations on a daily basis, which is not only the extranet, right? So what we have done is looked into the entire feature set of extranet and just build products for our providers to integrate with.
Mm-hmm.
What does it do? Actually, you then can have functionalities from Booking straight in the channel manager or in the property manager.
So I'm going to pause you for a minute, and I'm now going to switch over to this side. And Mark, ask you a few questions on the demand side. Now, our demand partners are the ones that have relationships with travelers, and it's really about working with them to be able to help reach these new audiences for accommodation partners as well. Could you tell us more about these partnerships?
Yeah, sure. In Booking partnerships, we work together with our demand partners to help to generate and create value from our shared audiences. And that can range anywhere from a upsell type of solution. For example, somebody has a transaction flow and we bring an in-path car rental solution, relatively uncomplicated, to a very complex solution where we bring together a version of their connected trip on their platform. Meaning we have content and platforms to help them with content like places to stay, cars, airport transfers, attractions, you name it. And we bring all of these components together for their connected trip.
Could you share some examples to bring it to life for our audience of partnerships that would highlight this ability to bring the connected trip to travelers on other platforms?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, one of our favorite examples for Booking is, of course, airlines. It can range anywhere from a what we call a co-brand type of partnership. We have that with KLM here in the Netherlands. You book your airline ticket on the KLM website, and the moment you are done with that, you will be asked whether you also would like a place to stay or an accommodation, and that will be offered together with Booking, and it's Booking branded. So you see KLM and Booking, we bring both brands together. But on the other hand, we can also have partnerships, what we call a white label, where our partners prefer to have the branding and look and feel of those solutions very similar to what they are used to. So, for example, southwesthotels.com is a white label solution, and it looks completely like Southwest.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that.
Sure.
I'm now going to turn over to the side of the room again. And Carmen, I've got a question for you. We've heard about different types of partners now that each one of you spends all the time building relationships with. Now, every partner is different, and they've all got very different needs. Can you tell us more about how you think about that?
Yeah, sure, Ripsy. Yeah, it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. I mean, we work with all different types of partners, from the multi-branded, multi-unit global players to very, very strong local players who all have different needs, right? For instance, a global hotel chain partner might look to leverage Booking.com differently when they're trying to reach new audiences in our ecosystem as compared to, say, an individual hotel partner. So this is how we maintain that balance. Our teams spend a lot of time creating value propositions that address the partner's key pain points, and at the same time, make it easier for our partners to leverage our whole platform to suit their own differentiated needs.
Let me pause you there for a minute, just to help me understand. So we're talking about at scale, utilizing technology and being able to meet needs of individual partners, but at the same time, making sure that it's very personalized for them as well and for what their businesses need.
Absolutely. And we aim to do this through technology, right? And what we're trying to do is identify and prioritize those mutual growth opportunities that can achieve a triple win outcome: a win for the customer, a win for the partner, and a win for Booking.com, right? Because that is what makes for a true long-term sustainable relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of what the foundation of every partnership really is.
Yeah. And as we heard from Glenn yesterday, right, this is going to be critical for the long-term success of our entire industry. So how this played out during the recovery was actually in the creation of an extensive recovery playbook.
What is a playbook? I mean, I can imagine many different types of playbooks. So can you help us understand what's in a playbook for a partner with Booking.com?
Yeah, a good question. So our playbook consists of different tools, solutions, products, and opportunities that help our partners navigate through the really rapidly evolving consumer behaviors that we observed on Booking.com over the course of the pandemic, and make the most of the opportunities that are available through the platform. So really as simple as that. It's basically a toolkit for recovery, which can be found by all partners, by the way, on our Partner Hub.
Good to know. But in reality as well, it depends on what kind of partner I am and what my needs are. Then I would find a very different and a distinct set of tools available to me to be able to make the most of the business on Booking.com.
Yeah, and actually, let me take this opportunity to highlight a specific example of this, which is actually a triple win that we achieved from our recovery playbook. So during the early stages, when we noticed signs of demand recovering, we started to co-brand and co-create dedicated partnership playbooks with some of our largest chain partners. And these dedicated partnership playbooks highlighted mutually endorsed solutions on Booking.com that really address these chains' differentiated needs.
Yeah.
It's a great example of how we are able to make it easier for our partners to work with us, and at the same time take our relationship to the next level.
It's kind of bringing the best people together and together figuring out how to navigate this completely new and complex world.
Absolutely.
Now, speaking of complex worlds, I want to switch over to you, Eddie, and ask a question. The payment ecosystem is obviously evolving a lot, and particularly in travel. Could you tell us more about that evolution and what it means for our partners?
Yeah, so as you said, payments is for everyone top of mind, right? Everything moves to online. You cannot shop anywhere just physically, so everything is in an online environment. And the same goes for our industry as well, right? So more and more are we moving to payment solutions. But payment solutions comes in a wide variety of choices, flavors, and that also makes it complex. What we try to do on our end is, let's say, just when we talk about payment and our payment offering, that also comes with the virtual credit card, right? I think everyone is familiar with that. What we try to do on our end is to ensure that for properties who are working with a channel manager, that also those types of solutions for virtual credit cards are actually working. So maybe just to highlight it with an example, recently Derbysoft, one of our larger global players who are dealing directly with some of the largest global chains, actually just build a solution specifically for them. And why is that important? It's that for all these different chains also they have different needs. And working through a provider, technology company like Derbysoft also enables us to kind of deliver these solutions to the specific needs of the accommodation. So at the end of the day, everyone is supported by this. And it's not only Booking who needs to do this, but we have then this entire technology ecosystem behind us who can also help with that.
Thanks for sharing that, Eddie. Definitely, we're hearing about the commercial innovation and understanding the needs of the partners. We're hearing on how we do things with partners. And I'm going to switch over to this side as well, Mark.
Sure.
And I'd love to hear from you on how do we bring the expertise and the knowledge that we have at Booking.com on demand generation, and how we bring it into our demand partnerships, please.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, of course. We last year, 2020, was an incredible, difficult year for the society in general, but also certainly for our sector and for our partners. Ranging from specific from us in March, April, business coming to a standstill, and then slowly over May, June, July, markets opening up again a little bit, and we saw travel behavior completely change, which was fascinating. Everybody was traveling domestic, no more long vacations or international travel. Booking windows shortened dramatically, so there was no long-term planning for holidays. Also in Europe, for example, almost 40% of the bookings that we saw were for what we call alternative accommodations, and that's booking speak for non-hotels. Meaning, and there was a completely different travel pattern. So we saw the world adapting, and that's when our business also needed to adapt. And when we were staying close with our partners, either through our account manager relationships or because of our partner survey that we launched last year, our partners asked us for two things: A, insights, and B, help, to your point, with campaigns and marketing. And we presented these insights in our, of course, like this fully online Adapt event to help them travel and to make some careful predictions as well for our joint business. And for the recovery and in terms of the marketing campaigns, we co-created media assets and campaigns. So if and when those markets opened up over the summer, we had campaign assets ready for their campaigns as well.
What are you looking most forward to as travel returns in?
Yeah, I'm so much looking forward to reconnecting with people. Right, our family has lived abroad for a while, so we haven't seen our friends from London anymore. Same for Spain, and I would love to be able to feel the sand between my toes and to go down a mountain on my snowboard. But then certainly that's on the personal side, but on the business side as well, we are used within our business to travel internationally, to connect with our partners, and to connect with our team members as well. I mean, my last international travel for work dates from last year in Singapore, and I haven't seen these teams anymore. And so in summary, connect as human beings.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Mark.
Sure.
And I'm going to turn to this side of the room now. Carmen, what do you most look forward to?
Yeah, so I'll also tackle the personal and business front. On the personal front, before the pandemic hit, my family would take that one big annual holiday together and make it a big family reunion. Because most of my extended family live across the other side of the world, that was the one chance that I really got to have to see them and physically, right, watch each other just grow old in person. So this is the thing I miss the most and the thing that I'm looking most forward to when it's safe to travel again.
Completely agree. Eddie, off to you now.
The last time that I traveled was at the beginning of last year, and we had two beautiful partner events, which are called Elevate. One in Amsterdam, where we flew in all our partners from Europe, and we had one in Miami, flying all in our partners from Americas. And we were planning to go to Japan, but unfortunately we had to cancel that one. Those moments, when travel starts to kind of flourish again, that we can do that again, it would be fantastic to kind of just see each other. We have been kept in contact via Zoom and Blue Jeans, all the kinds of, that's fantastic as a solution, but there's nothing powerful than just the human connection. I've traveled for work a lot over the last couple of years, seen many beautiful places. So on a personal note, I'm really looking forward to take my family with me to these places, because every time I come back home from a trip and I show them pictures and I tell them what I've eaten and how it looked like and how I enjoyed the life there, they said, just, oh, we want to go there as well. So that's something on our list. There are a few places my kids constantly ask for. I want to go there: Singapore, New York, Dubai. So I can't wait so that we can actually just travel again and then take the family with me. Yeah.
Well, I'll follow suit as well. And on a personal front, we've got a 5 and a 3-year-old, and neither one of us is from the Netherlands. And what we miss the most is having them sit next to their grandparents and listen to stories that are not on FaceTime. And I think the kids really, really miss that, and I cannot wait for that moment to come. And on a personal side, I recently moved roles at Booking.com, and as I've been onboarding into a new organization, and it's amazing because in the same week I can be talking to partners from Thailand to New Zealand to Africa and to the Americas, and I can be talking to team members everywhere, but nothing, as you say, replaces the human connection. And I'm really looking forward to getting out there and making these personal connections matter. And I think for me, I'm going to end on this note, actually. I think we're running out of time. But in reality, these last thoughts are a perfect example as to why I'm incredibly optimistic about the future of travel. I think this human connection that we as humans all seek will continue to remain an important motivator. And we will see travel return, whether that be business travel, but also obviously travel for leisure. And more importantly, as we continue to innovate, I think as an industry that's coming out of crisis, it's very much in us working together as partners that we can bring this industry to the next level and to really, truly together make it easier for everyone to experience the world. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I hope you are seeing the importance we are placing on partnerships and getting clarity on the commitment to the word partner. You tell us that it is important to see value, but also feel valued. And we know our teams are focused on translating your feedback into solutions. Everyone at Booking has a commitment to the continuous improvement of our products and programs. Now, one program that has been busy innovating is Genius. And so we asked them to tell us some more.
Hello, everyone. My name is Hein van Thiel, Senior Product Marketing Manager here at Booking.com. And I wanted to talk to you about the Genius program and why it's more relevant than ever. Today's travel industry is facing its greatest challenge. Restrictions and customer needs are changing rapidly. It is therefore important to stay ahead and to ensure your property is found when travel demand is returning. Genius is the most powerful program on Booking.com. It helps partners to stand out from the competition as it offers an instant increase in visibility and conversion, helping them to attract new customers and ultimately resulting in incremental business. Partners who join Genius on average get a 29% increase in bookings. Throughout 2021, you can expect investments in global marketing and social media campaigns, reigniting existing Genius users and ultimately driving more demand to our platform and to our Genius partners. Our shared objective is always to deliver the best customer experience. Genius is doing this by offering simple but yet valuable benefits at best rated properties on our platform, making it easier for customers to experience the world. We're expanding Genius, updating Genius Level 1 and launching a brand new tier, Genius Level 3, to logged-in customers with 15 or more completed stays. These are our top valued customers that tend to spend the most and cancel less compared to other guests. Also, we will invest in new innovations and add more value by launching credits, car rental discounts, and an improved customer experience for Genius members. To set yourself up for success, we've built a range of targeting solutions that you can tailor to your needs. You can increase your level of competitiveness by offering additional discounts to a smaller but more incremental Genius audience, or by offering extra value with an upgrade or free breakfast promotion. In exchange, we will increase your visibility throughout the customer journey to make it as easy as possible for our members to find those properties that offer this extra value. To guide you, we will provide you with real-time performance insights and personalized recommendations. We strongly believe that these new features and solutions will help our partners in 2021. So tune in and please join the Genius Masterclass launching today, or speak to your account manager for more information.
We are reaching already the end of our day 2 show from the studio. And Eamon told you earlier that we have a lot of on-demand content.
Yeah, I did say it was going to be a big day for on-demand content, and releasing now is 21 sessions of content, so a lot. Let me help you through it. We have the Elevate Masterclasses. Now think experts talking through topics like marketing, reviews, Genius, for example. Then we have our Explain series. Now, these are really cool. You can learn a skill in 15 minutes or less. So
Wow.
coaching, growth mindset, things like that.
Nice.
Now, since we started Click, we've had these sessions, and they've been proven to be pretty popular. They're called What's Cooking at Booking.
Really?
Yeah, they are. And so we put all of our product teams in the kitchen, vacation rentals, cars, rides, connectivity, and they're going to share with you their plans and what's going on in the kitchen. And so I encourage you not to stop your exploring, and that includes joining us tomorrow right here back in the studio. Right, Marit?
Yeah, right. And you do not want to miss tomorrow's session, where Rob Ransom joins us for a conversation with the CEOs from Kayak, Priceline.com, and the US head of Booking.com. And Eamon sat down with Martinique Lewis. She's the president at the Black Travel Alliance, and she must have had a lot to share about being mindful of diversity in travel, I think.
Well, I can tell you already, it was both an energetic and inspiring interview. There are so many more reasons to keep yourself and your teams engaged at our all digital Click 2021. And don't forget to use that hashtag. We cannot wait to be connected to everyone from all corners of the world using that hashtag. But from here in the studio, until tomorrow, see you later.
See ya.
Bye now.
Bye.